with a top six OCS top 16 game. We have Connor Britton versus Brian Fred. So this one's going to be an interesting one. So Connor, I believe, was the uh, he was like a 3 seed or a 4 seed this year.
Four, I believe.
Okay, so and he actually was able to pick who he played, and he picked Brian Fred. So according to Connor, he wanted to play against the best player as well as the nicest player in Star Wars CCG.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
yeah, so he decided to go with Brian Fred, and as you can see, Connor is ready to go. He's decided to play Dark Side. We're waiting on one Brian Fred. So, what do you guys think about this matchup, Connor versus Brian?
Well, this is a
I would.
rematch. I was gonna say this is a rematch of their top four match, I believe, at Endor this past. God, it feels like it was 2 years ago, 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Um, and I know Brian was victorious in that matchup. Obviously, the meta's a lot different now. So part of me feels like it's a little bit of a grudge match. As I recall, also when Beefred was on Hollow Theater right before the OCS draft, he was asked who he would choose if given the option. I think Connor was his
Yes.
selection.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that did play a small factor maybe in kind of.
I could see that.
the reverse call out. I wonder. So I'm always into this head game. When we're choosing sides in the match play, I wonder if Connor choosing Dark first is at all indicative of his light side deck choice? Because they should be locked in now, right?
Yes.
My theory would be that choosing Dark first would then allow him to decide how he needs to play his light side deck, which I would put odds on it being No Idea, because that's the deck that he's
Yeah.
been very well known to play. But of course, he could also zag instead of zig there because that's what he's known to play. But No Idea in particular is a deck that would benefit a lot from knowing, I need to win this game by 20, so I need to do these particular plays in order to do that, or I don't need to win this game at all, or I need to win it by like 4, so like that.
Yeah, it really dictates how aggressive you have to be with it.
That's true. Yeah. And so so Connor, as we I think we alluded to this either in Hollow Theater or in the earlier match between Greg and MHT. Connor seems to be a hunt down type of a player. So my question is, do you see him on hunt down or do you see him on something else?
Well, I know what he's on. I don't know if I should spoil it before the game starts.
Well, I would suggest a guess thing because I do not know what he's on, and I would be surprised if he was on Hunt Down, mostly because Hunt Down is pretty low in the meta right now. Even though it's a deck that he's very comfortable with, I would say it'd be more likely he'd be on Quarter CCT than on Hunt Down.
Yeah, especially because I'm curious to see what Beefred plays for light, because he says he hasn't played a lot since Texas, hasn't played testing. So I don't know if he would go with Diplo again, in which case you probably don't want Hunt Down.
Yeah. The other option, so Connor, and I don't know if for those who know Connor know this about him, he likes to play Hoth CRV. I know it's a bad deck right now, but if it's one of those, essentially like a pocket pick that he can bring out to this type of meta, and if he can put like Brian on like maybe a Throne Room, a Hitco, or even a Diplo, something like that might give him an edge. I can see Brian playing a Diplo tonight just because it is one of his go-to decks. I know in Texas, I want to say he brought out. He played No Idea. I don't know.
Yeah, No Idea in game 1. Yeah.
Yeah. I know he played No Idea. He played that against me actually, or no, I played. No, I did play him against. He played his No Idea. I played my CCT and I was able to beat him, but I don't know what his other deck was. Ryan, do you know what it was?
It was Diplo because I played the Cave SSA against him and should have won that game by all accounts and got away from me at the end. So yeah, he had Diplo and no idea for Texas.
Okay, so it seems like
I don't know
he does like to play the Diplo, and I think it's safe to say, being that it is Brian Fred, he likes to stick with stuff that he knows well. I can see him playing a Diplo. So maybe
and
if
he
you're
played at
Conor,
Endor too. He was on Diplo at Endor.
yeah, and I was gonna
Yep.
say, if you're Conor playing against B Fred, maybe you want to go with that SSA Cave deck that is rather good at blowing out the Tantive.
There's
But-
I think there are a lot of options for Dark Side.
I mean, I think the issue. Well, okay. The issue that I have with doing that is that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I played the Endor Ops build, but not the Cave CCA build. The strength against Diplo is having a good starship, particularly being able to do Vader's Tide, cancel the droid's text, and blow up the Tantive on turn 1. My experience has been that that's good against Diplo, but that's not necessarily the play that like you don't win the game on turn 1 from doing that. Like you're ahead. Like it's certainly good. It's better to do that than to battle them with anything else. But I don't know that advantage is sufficient that it would put me in a spot.
It doesn't win the game. It gives you a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, when I played B-Fred with it, he activated Chandril on turn 1. So the Tantive got stuck at Tatooine for an extra turn.
Yeah.
Which, that happens, then Dark Side can pile up damage quick.
So he played Diplo the way that I do. Okay.
Yeah, B Fred doesn't go with like the. I've seen a lot of people do like the Joe Olsen, where you play General Lando, get the Falcon out, move it over, and you move it over, move it back, all in essentially your first turn. So that way you deliver the plans, and then you can get like a decent flip. So you don't need the Chandrilla, you don't need Mon Mothma. You play with that. B Fred is the more. I'm going to take my time moving it over at the way I want to go.
Yeah, I've never seen him play the Falcon in Diplo for that turn 1 delivery. I'd be surprised if he changed it, assuming he is playing Diplo tonight.
I mean, it's a tough thing to do also because with the change with the errata to Mon Mothma, you have to give up playing Mon Mothma on turn 1 to do all that, I believe, if I recall correctly. If I'm mapping it out right, which is fine. But then you also have to start squadron assignments that accomplishes basically nothing else. Because you generally don't play another matching ship pair. I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I did Poe and BB-8 in mind just to get another use out of squadron and maybe have something from that. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of a dead card after that first turn.
Yeah. And I feel like the dark side meta is such right now that I don't think you need to rush the turn 1 flip that hard.
I agree.
ISB is not going to threaten you in on turn 1 in space in a meaningful way. Even like CCT is certainly not going to. Even Court doesn't really want to on turn 1. Like they would rather set up the audience chamber, and then you're left with the CCA decks and the kind of off the wallish decks that can do it on turn 1. But otherwise, you pretty much do have that first turn to set up.
One deck that I know Diplo has a little bit of an issue with is the Endor Ops deck, where you can go get the Slave 1, you can go get the Ozzel, you get multiple Destinies from the Slave 1. You have the possibility of essentially cracking the forfeit on the droid, and then they have to lose the Falcon or the Tantive.
Yeah, and that's what Diplo got errated for a couple of years ago, because there was a play where you could set up Slave 1, Fett, Ozzel, maybe you get a lateral damage.
Or a command.
Well, that could exchange for a command too when you initiate battle.
Oh yeah,
command for sure.
So we just had
a bunch.
So a quick update from Conor. Brian just asked him if it's okay if they only play one game tonight. I know Brian is over in Indiana, so it could be a little late for him.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock right now.
Yeah, no, it's 11 o'clock. Maybe.
Oh yeah, is Indiana East Coast? Oh yeah, Indiana's East Coast. Okay,
so waiting on to see. I know Brian actually. I don't think he saw that Conor had his game up, so I think they're waiting right now and they're trying to figure out the. But we do know that.
A little bit of a break then, Dan.
Sorry.
At least you get a little bit of a break then. I know you've been going since.
You know what? No, I know before we got on and we got on the air and everything, and I was saying that this reminds me of Texas and me doing commentary the entire day. You know what? I had fun. I liked it. I like doing this. This is enjoyable for me. I know I'm not going to play Worlds. I'm probably going to be doing commentary as well as setting all the commentary for everyone. So I'm having a blast doing this. So, but I hope they don't play tomorrow because tomorrow we have game two of Greg and Matt Harrison Trainer. Just a recap on that game. Matt Harrison Trainer ended up winning by 23. What happened? That was an ISB versus a throne room. Both were a little different than your standard builds. Greg decided to go with a more big blue type of a ISB where he was able to get the executor out for free. He piled a bunch of guys on there. MHT was playing a throne room that didn't start any weapons. He he didn't play any weapons in his deck. He didn't start Cytor. He played. You've got a lot of guts coming here because he figured that Greg was going to be playing a ISB. So he played guts to get the extra forfeit from his guys on Cloud City. Another interesting card that was played, Jedi Presence. It's really good if you have Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker, Rebel Scout, Hera, Han with Heavy Blaster Pistol, and Admiral Radis out at the Cloud City site. Because you draw 3 Destiny, and he ended up getting 51 power, causing 16 overflow.
In a defensive battle.
In
he did 16 overflow in a battle that his opponent initiated.
Yes, Greg initiated this battle, and Greg was actually playing with no Gick in his deck. So, a little risky. I want to say Greg came down with a Maul with double-bladed lightsaber in that battle to initiate. And he initiated and ended up losing 16 cards in overflow. So, ouch. At that point, though, the game was a little even. Matt had a lot that he could do. He could have gone to other sites, set up Menace Fade. I want to say he only had a 4-card hand when Greg initiated, and 3 of the cards were Odin Nestler combo, Rescue in the Clouds, and the Jedi Presence. So Matt was able to do all that by cycling his cards back with 3PO. So for those who are playing Throne Room without 3PO, maybe watching that game gives you a little bit more incentive to play 3PO.
Yes, because the biggest problem with 3PO with part showing is that no one plays him enough. He's too underappreciated as a card.
Mm-hmm.
Little tongue in cheek, yeah. I mean, 3PO is so fantastic, and I mean, I can certainly see. You know, you have to make a hard cut in your throne room deck, and maybe 3PO has to hit the bench. But I mean, I like him. I actually really like him in Cytor decks. Because you can put the weapon back on your opponent's turn, so you know where it is and can pull it for sure on your turn, just to get an extra card flip, and setting up your hand with and putting back destinies from redundant cards, redundant silver bullet cards, letting you play things like Under Attack and Relatively Unprotected and cards that might not have impact in the match that you're playing, but have high enough destiny that they're worth putting in your deck regardless. Yeah.
Okay, so we are waiting for B-Fred. Conor still has his game up. Apparently, B-Fred is indisposed right now, and we are just waiting for him to return to his computer. And it actually looks like that. It looks like they just started. So here we go. Okay, so Conor has revealed his objective. He's gone with ISB, a deck I wouldn't put him on. And Brian is going with Diplo. So for those who anticipated a Diplo match, congrats to you. You picked a deck correct.
Yeah, I think that's what Conor wanted to see. That's what we had talked about. Because ISB, I think, it's favored in that matchup. I've seen a lot of Diplo and ISB matchups lately, and I've tried it myself, and Diplo seems to struggle to do damage against it.
And I can agree with you there. One thing in particular is Diplo needs to get out the Bail Organa. Bail Organa can be really, really useful in this matchup. Being able to have that extra force loss from Bale is pretty good. But I do like what Brian has started. He started the standard strike planning. I must be allowed to speak, and he's gone with the Menace Fades. I think the Menace Fades is good here, especially if he can work his magic essentially in space, and control a battleground system. I know we're going to see we're probably going to see Mustafar. We're probably going to see Chandrilla. So that's 2 extra systems that Brian can essentially work around.
Yeah, we had debated whether ISB wants to pull Mustafar in this matchup, and give because it's going to have Darkside's going to have Stalker to follow Lightside around. Do you want to put out a third battleground system, assuming Chandrilla, or do you just want to follow them back and forth and keep Menace Fades shut off?
And I like that over. I do like that because you in space, it really comes down to what Brian gets out for his space, because he's going to have the Bright Hope. I know he normally plays the Carillion Corvette. I don't know what other kind of ships he really plays. So if he does play like a Gold Leader in Gold 1 or like a Profundity or something, maybe he can contest Conor in space, but we shall see.
Diplo has a few reasonable options for space. It usually doesn't run as heavy as No Idea just because it can't pull the ships, and it wants to occupy a lot of locations with the ability 3 Rebels, which makes it difficult to put a lot of ships out. But yeah, I mean, that is one of the strengths of most of the light side decks, is that running some space is not that hard, and going up from like 3 to 4 ships can make a big difference and doesn't cost you that much. So.
So we will see Conor get the Mustafar system, and then he does get Vader's Castle. So he's getting his activation early, which is good. Now, Diplo does put a lot of battlegrounds on the table, so Conor's going to get extra. He's going to get a lot of force to work with us in this game.
Yeah, especially if he can find Moff Gideon early and get that -1.
So, Ryan, you know what deck Conor is playing. Do you know the cards specific in his deck, or
most of them? Yeah, it's a kind of a variant on the new allies. It's a Trooper Swarm, a lot of characters. I think he's got the Stalker and the Vengeance for space.
Okay, so it's kind of like your standard version.
Yeah.
Okay. Standard at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say at least with. I mean, one of the tough parts about evaluating your opponent on being on ISB is that those 3 starting effects are pretty common to any build of ISB that you might play. I would say almost any build, I guess. Obviously, there's exceptions, but like those 3 effects don't give away that it's a Trooper build versus a Walker build versus something else that you might do.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
So, Beefred still has to kind of hedge a little bit and figure out where things might go from here. So.
Yeah, so Brian got Bale out right away, so that's a good start.
Yeah, and that's a good start. He got out the Bale, he got out Mon Mothma. So there's Chandrilla. So I think if you're Beefred, you might want to consider staying at Tatooine, just because you don't know what's in Conor's 12 card hand, and he does have 14 first to work with. But Beefred doesn't care. He's just gonna move over to Chandrilla. And he will save 1, so...
I'm trying to recall now Captain Ramus Antilles and how this card works. So there is enough force... Okay, so that's what I was debating, was that it is a risky move by Beefred because even with Bale, he's only drawing 1 Destiny, but there could very easily be an Antilles maneuver to deploy Ramus from deck, especially if he knew that Ramus was in reserve that turn. Then he knows it's in reserve during Conor's deploy phase, so he could then get the extra Destiny.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll soon see.
Okay, so I think this is why Beefred decided to move over, because I don't see him moving over without a barrier. And normally this version of ISB doesn't run any cancelers, so keeping the one force, playing the barrier, it's kind of standard. I mean, that's a good play for B Fred. Okay, and it looks like Connor's going to get out Agent Callus, and he gets pulled Terradome and Isard. Isard goes back onto his use pile, and he'll take pull. So, I mean, that's a good turn 2, essentially. Oh, there's Conor Wolf Yularen. He'll activate 2 more. So he can actually get pulled down or tiered him down.
I think for the -3.
Yeah. And I like and he also draws a card. So, but I don't think B Fred's going to stick around to fight that. So we'll probably see him.
He has access to. I think he'll move over to deliver and then move whatever's left back to Tatooine. At least Conor agreed to, at least.
Now we could see like B Fred going down with another ship and moving the droids over and then running back over to Tatooine, because unfortunately for Conor, being that he's playing ISB, he's only going to get 1 Destiny at Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like it's a nice little built-in rebel leadership for B Fred. Now, the other thing is B Fred has to take this into consideration. Because he has Chandrilla there, it is still a force strain -2. Or it's still a force strain of 2.
Yeah, because it's a force strain -1 if dark side controls with no capital ships.
Correct.
Now, it's also very possible that Conor could have a second Star Destroyer floating around in there. Stalker would certainly be the natural exception.
Yeah.
I mean, that's possible. There's even a binder or something too, but certainly at least a Stalker would make it a drain +1 instead of being drain -1.
Okay, so B Fred comes down with the Bright Hope, so now he gets that second Destiny because of Bam.
The second Destiny and the Bright Hope Destiny to subtract.
Yes. It would be a Destiny of 2 and 2, but again, I see B Fred moving the Bright Hope with the droids over to Alderaan.
So the only tough thing about that is that would then trap the Bright Hope at Alderaan. Because the Bright Hope can't go from Alderaan to anywhere except Chandrilla. So as long as the Vengeance stays at Chandrilla, then the Bright Hope can't leave unless the Tano comes back over.
Okay, so there's
that doesn't necessarily mean that won't be what he does, but
now, even if he controls Tatooine, that still is a drain of 2. He doesn't get any modifiers or anything because on his side, so we won't see Menace Phase would be in effect, but it wouldn't affect Chandrilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing even with Menace out, there's still a lot of drain 2 sites for Darkside to go to.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Cantina, Mos Eisley, even the farm if they have Min to protect the drain.
Sorry, I was trying to understand what you meant by that. What you mean is that even if Menace Phase is in effect, Chandrilla could still be a drain of 3.
Right?
Yes.
Because this drain bonus is not dark sides, it's a light sides.
Exactly. Same with Alderaan. Yep. Because Alderaan, if you control, it's a force drain +1. But because it's a light side card, he would be able to get that drain +1 in there. Okay, so he does move the droids over to the Bright Hope, though.
Yeah, so he's got to be splitting them up if he's doing that, and moving the Tanda back over to Tatooine to flip.
Yeah, he's going to be able to flip. That's a really good flip. Now, the only problem that I see though is he has a 3-card hand, so it costs him a lot of cards to be able to do all this.
I mean, he has a 3-card hand, but he does have a Ray to draw the 1 force that I presume he's going to save for Grabber / Ray. He can take whatever Destiny draw he gets this turn into hand with Mon Mothma, which is one of the ways that Diplo can maintain its card flow, because they just battle a lot and take a card into hand every battle. So you can just continue to apply pressure and keep up your board presence without even having to take a turn off to draw up a bunch, which is certainly one of the great things about
the other thing is he does get to pull a card with the secret planet or the the plans.
Yeah.
So,
Given the texture of ISB decks and how they often look nowadays, I would be surprised if that card wasn't Gek or wasn't Hoojix. Unless I guess he already has one. Um,
okay, and Connor's going to go out and get firepower. It's not going to come into play right now. However, it might come into play later because B-Fred might play like a dodge.
And I assume that Conor might want to go after that Kraken who's sitting there all alone.
yeah.
I thought he might shuttle up to the Tanev. But...
Kraken, I mean...
he would. I mean, he would have to use that last force that he has, and I think if you're B-Fred, you might want to play a barrier. Like, he might have gotten a barrier as well.
Yeah, that one force represents a lot of different things out of the Diplo deck here. Because if nothing else, he might want to save it so he can retrieve a force if he wins a battle. There's many things that Diplo can do with that one force here.
Exactly.
I have such bad experiences with General Kraken. Like every time I played him, like his text gets canceled or gets shot by 359.
And that's the biggest problem with General Kraken is he's so reliant on his game text. I mean, yes, there's other characters who are reliant on their game text, but
also he's not a spy, so he deploys +2 under no idea when you're not flipped.
Yeah. You would think, I think the original version of him, Colonel Kraken, instead of the General, is a spy.
Colonel Kraken is a spy.
Which makes no, I mean, what, he gained rank and he lost the ability to be a spy?
He just wears his uniform everywhere now, so everyone knows he's a rebel general. So
he's got too much bling on his shoulders.
Yeah, so he can't hide anymore. Okay,
so Conor will not force train. However, he does deploy Vandalay, so now he is flipped. He has so much force to work with. I don't understand why he didn't drain. Yeah, he has to be thinking. Sorry.
Well, so I mean, I would imagine that he's setting up to beat down in two locations this turn. Leaving all that force up represents trying to deploy all 9 of his cards, maybe.
That's fair.
All 9 of his cards this turn.
Well, I mean, he did just deploy Yularen, who activated.
Yeah, he picked up Yularen. He picks up Yularen with Vandalay and then deployed him again.
I love that move. Okay, there comes a Garrison, so that's 2 Destiny.
A lot.
I hope that card was the Hoojix. And I think he's overdoing it here.
Yeah. Because what we saw on Monday with Adam and Brad is Diplo had 2 guys on the ground, and ISB was able to drop an army at both sites basically and end the game.
Yeah,
and I agree. I like.
Connor's not enough cards and forces. You could attack both those sites and flip Diplo back.
I mean, if he was to have, say, like a Vader, you go down with maybe everybody but the Stormtrooper Patrol down to the Cantina. You throw Vader down to Kraken's site, and you completely remove B-Fred from the ground.
And then I like this sequence. He used the Masterful Move combo to cancel the Savrip, which B-Fred then grabbed.
And smart.
He did that before he was about to initiate this battle to bury the Savrip. I presume thinking that B-Fred might have been leaning on that Savrip to survive this battle without having to lose too much. I would assume there's got to be a Hoojix here. So this feels like a bit of an overdeploy. On the other hand, it is holding down a Drain 2.
Yes.
A Drain 2 site. So
yeah, it would be essentially, it would be a Drain of 3 and 2 up in space.
Yeah.
Or no, it would be a Drain of 4.
Oh, because it's a Garrison. Yes.
Yeah.
But Menace will keep it at 2.
Okay, so he draws Tarkin. He draws Tarl and Tarkin for Destiny. He cancels and redraws with Vandalay and draws Isard. So he's got a 6. So 24-4. Now, B-Fred's Destiny is going to be +3. And he draws a 1. Oh.
Yeah,
so it's a 4.
It's only plus. Oh no, it's +3 from Ray, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to take Ahsoka into hand with Mon Mothma, but that's still overpowered by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Ray's 4, so he's going to lose her in 9 if he doesn't have the Hoojix.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine he doesn't have the Hoojix, though.
Yeah. And I like Connor losing the Lauren because he can now deploy him again. Well, first of
Yep.
all, he can retrieve him, put him back.
Right.
Okay, and there is the Hojix. Connor grabs it. Okay, I like that. I like that.
Hmm. Yeah, the two cards that I would likely grab targets against Diplo would be Barrier and Hujix.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I like the aggressiveness of grabbing the Hojix.
mhm. Yep.
Yeah, because now Diplo's got to think a lot harder before it goes
Yeah.
wide, especially with
So
Vader.
now, yeah, and now I was gonna say, B Fred's only doing 1 damage.
Yeah, and then ISB could also run some techie cards like You Rebel Scum with all the
Mhm.
Stormtroopers it has. So all these rebels that rely on drawing in their own game texts isn't really safe.
Yeah.
Okay, and Connor's gonna lose a Death Squadron assignment. That's a, I like that's a good card to lose. I mean, yes, he can still grab the Stalker, but
You peeled it from reserve too.
yeah,
Death Squad Enshrinements is really one of my favorite cards. I love that card so
it's a
much.
super solid card. Like whoever put that out there, it doesn't really see a lot of the loss on the game test, but it's a recyclable 4, so
I mean, I've considered playing it lost if you were playing like the Hoth third marker and stuff.
mm,
It's deployed to any Hoth set location. It doesn't have to be the Hoth system. It can be the Hoth system, but
yeah.
um,
I mean, you know what deck that card's good in? Hoth
Hothwalker.
CRV. Okay, Cornhorn's going down to the Mustafar Castle. I like that play because, I mean, that's going to essentially, that kind of forces Stubbly into either pulling the Vader and risking the Vader going lost due to a plethora of ability 3 guys and lower on the table for him. But again, he doesn't. So we assume that the Hojix was the pull from the reserve deck with the plans. So, okay, there's Ahsoka.
And I wonder if he's setting up celebrations. I can't imagine just leaving Kraken there for another turn by himself.
I mean, Connor only has 5 cards in his hand.
Yeah, true.
So I mean, if B Fred had. So he's going to
he-
move the Bright Hope in front of the Vengeance. Okay, so we're probably going to see. We might see Kraken shuttle up to the Tantive as forfeit fodder, but no, he's just going to move the Tantive over in front of the Vengeance.
And I think I think that makes some sense because Diplo is incentivized to stay wide, both for its objective and also to keep enforcement turned off.
And then Connor took Tarkin in the hand with Vandalay, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is that Connor only has 5 cards in hand, but one of them is Tarkin. So
yeah,
he could deploy like 8 cards out of 5 cards in hand.
Okay. So there's the drain of 4 at the Cantina. I'm a little surprised B Fred didn't pull Ultimatum.
Yeah. Yeah, because he gave up the Menace Fades in order to block the Vengeance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it would have been a drain of 2. So.
Yeah, I wonder if he...
This is such a risky drain block here.
Okay, so B Fred is going to ask for the revert and the shield. I see Connor allowing it. Because, I mean, you get in that mindset of just auto passing after the activate. Okay, so Connor is going to allow it. Yeah. Everybody gets 1.
What I was going to say is this is a really risky drain block here because he knows that there's a Tarkin in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So Tarkin is like if Tarkin just comes down to Vengeance here, right?
Okay. So
we know
B-Fred, I was gonna say B-Fred does have to lose the 4 to initiate the.
In order to get to revert.
Yeah. He does lose. So he has Cassian, We're Doomed, Celebration, and Luke. Yeah. So there's the revert. So we know what's on top of his deck. Everybody knows what's on top of his deck. So I kind of want to say that he needs to somehow shuffle. Like, this is where that comes into play. But
and I don't see anything on the table that will let him do it.
Yeah. Since he has to use a shield pull here.
He could have strike planning. Well, did he use both strike plannings to get the Kraken?
He probably did use both. I didn't actually see, but it's possible.
Okay, so he does lose Cassian and the escape pod from his deck. So I'm going to scroll up really quick and just double check.
Well, Sam, this is such a risky because it's so easy for Connor to just have like a command and an Ozzel that just devastates light side space because Tarkin can just cancel the Bright Hope draw,
Yep.
and then Darkside's outpowered already by 6.
So
Darkside's getting 2 draws.
for a little bit of interest here, B. Fred did not use strike planning at all this game so far.
Oh, he open-handed
Oh,
both
wow.
both the general and Monmouth. Hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Jared. He needed to lose 2 from his hand, but
From his hand and then peel 2 to the Drain of 4 to set. Okay, yeah.
okay. So there's Kyrkanos and the Stormtrooper Patrol. Now the only thing about this is right now he's not getting a Destiny, but there's Tarkin. Now again, Tarkin won't be able to cancel this right now because there's only 2 ISB agents there, so he has to deploy another guy.
But he just drew 3 more cards, so I assume
True.
he's fine.
That's an interesting place to put Tarkin.
Yeah.
And there's Colonel Wolf Yularen. That card is money right now for Connor.
I mean, so admittedly, this is an easier beatdown than trying to clear the space. Because, I mean, even beating down the space, I don't think he's actually going to clear space. Because he has the free 7 forfeit from the droids.
Oof, so, yeah, and he just gets even more. There's the min, so
yeah,
he gets a free shield pull. But, again, more importantly...
how much force has Wolf activated this game already? 12?
I think it's only
3,
10.
4, 11.
Oh, because it was 2 the first time, it was 4 the second time, and now it's 4 this time. Yeah, it was only 2 the first time because it was him and Callus.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a trooper assault. So
that's like the worst trooper assault ever.
Well, you know what though? 2 power is still 2 power, especially when a masterful move is grabbed.
Yeah, there's no Hujix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Beefred's actually in the chat just packing in the match here, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to blame him though. I mean, he clearly doesn't have any defense here. It can't be a Hujix, so he's just gonna peel a lot. And
and
Diplo has a hard time.
And I was gonna say Connor could have actually. He had 3 cards in the lost pile. He could have retrieved the 1, gone down to 2. Yeah.
I mean, Beefred's not going to lose the game immediately on this battle, almost regardless of what happens.
Okay, he's not going to get any Destiny, so he's going to be power. He's down 16 right there. So he's got forfeit 4, so he's down by 12, and that's before Destiny.
Yeah, but so, I mean, even if it's a 5, right? That takes him to down 17. It's just like he's not actually dead.
But he's in a really bad position.
He's not going to be able to win. No, I agree with you there. He can't really win the game from there.
No.
And there's really not a way that he can reduce the damage by their diff by much more. So, and especially if Beefred's not very confident in his dark side deck or in the matchup.
Conor would have played Legend for light side. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
What Beefred would have played.
I could not have seen. I think Beefred would have went with ISB.
Well, and that was my thought too, but also that's why my inclination was to think that Conor would probably be on Legend, was just my blind guess. Because my understanding from what we've seen of the matchup of the meta, which has been a lot, is that ISB is favored against No Idea. Whether it's a small degree or a large degree depends on the players and the build and all that. But pretty universally, it seemed to be the opinion that ISB is favored. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for me. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me for Conor to walk into a matchup that he expects to be bad, even if it's a deck that he's...
Just to recap for Joe Olson, who I want to say just came on right now. So Beefred was able to flip early on, and basically Conor came down with the Vengeance. Beefred barriered it. Conor loaded it up with, he had Agent Callus. He also had Colonel Wolf Yularen. He then deployed Vandalay and Poltiered him down. With Vandalay, he took the Callus back, or the Colonel Wolf Yularen. He stacked up Beefred at the Cantina. There was a Ray there. Beefred had a Hojix. Conor grabbed. beat Fred, then passed his turn. He put down Cornhorn. He put down Ahsoka. He moved over in front of the Vengeance and passed turn. At that point, Conor came down with
all five of those
characters down to the Dune Sea, and B. Fred conceded after Conor played a Trooper Assault.
He did what I predicted. He deployed 5 cards. He deployed 5 characters and played an interrupt out of a 5-card hand.
Yeah. Well, he also used Tarkin to draw.
Yes, that's what I meant. That was part of the prediction.
Yeah.
Went along
So yeah, B. Fred would have peeled 13 plus the Destiny.
Yep.
And yeah, he conceded the entire match.
Yep.
So we will not have a game 2 for this match. I do believe, again, tomorrow we will have Joe and Mike Kessling return for game 2 of Greg Shaw versus Matt Harrison Trainer. Again, Matt Harrison Trainer is currently up by 23, so we'll see what happens in that one. We have a lot more OCS coverage to talk about, to watch for. Have we seen? Is this the only match that has actually progressed, or is there one other one?
For OCS?
Well, I do not know the answer to that question.
OCS matches?
Yes.
Yeah, Drew beat Jared in their match. He moved on.
Okay.
And then Adam advanced over Brad Kipple on Monday night.
Okay. So, yes. So, okay, everyone. So that's all the coverage we have for tonight. I know it was a lot. So thanks to everybody who tuned in for all 3 streams. Again, tomorrow we'll have Greg and MHT finishing up the Texas Mini World. So until then, good night, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.